the space that the records hold where you can, like, it just takes the weight off. You can just relax into what is true. The truth really is so transformative, and it can just be one small channeling. And for that moment and for that thing you were struggling and in your head about, it shifts it.
Welcome to Feed Your Wild, an immersive journey to help you remember your own medicine and awaken your intuitive healing gifts. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join us for heart-centered, real conversations exploring intuition and spirituality, health and wellness, astrology, herbalism, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and life. Our mission is to inspire, empower you, and help you expand your spiritual and intuitive connection to its fullest expression so that we can build a more beautiful world together. Get ready to feed all parts of your wild self. Well, I am feeling just pleased as punch to bring you a new mini-series that I've created for this month of October, and that is Riding the Chariot. In this mini-series, I am interviewing a handful of graduates from my 9-month mentorship and practitioner mastermind program, the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, and getting an inside look into their process, their journey, the ups and downs and all arounds. One thing that I have been receiving as a message from many of you, the listeners, is that you want to hear more about these real life stories from peers, from people who are going through it, who are in it. And I feel so honored and privileged to be in a place of holding a sacred space and container for folks to journey through a lot of what we would call a chrysalis process, right? And stepping into their path as an intuitive healer in all the ways that that might mean for them. When I channeled in the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, aka WIP, my guides shared with me that this is a chariot. WIP is a chariot. And through the archetype of the chariot that is in the tarot, the chariot is a vehicle that takes us from one place to another. It is the thing that we can ride with and through all the different challenges and ups and downs that we might experience through our journey at whatever stage inside the major arcana, the Fool's journey inside of tarot and inside of our lives. And that WIP is a chariot for those who are really wanting to step out of the so-called spiritual closet and step more deeply onto their aligned path. So I thought, what better way to showcase what this actually looks like with real people and getting really transparent with the struggles, the wins, insights, and ahas that we all collectively experience and can benefit from hearing about. My prayer with these medicine talks is that there is some gem, some kernel of wisdom that hits home for you, that you can receive, that supports you, nourishes you, and inspires you in whatever path you are on, in whatever transformative chrysalis you are currently going through. Because I know, believe me, we're all collectively going through some shit. And so hearing the stories from others can be so healing, and I am excited to share these with you. In this episode, we're talking to Sarah Orzalli, who was an OG original whipper in that she had signed up when I had the pre-sale. So this was before I even had the program out. The doors were not fully open. This was a sort of like a preview opening, and she had applied and said yes and took that leap. And so she was with us since the very beginning, and she has since graduated and moved on to the next chariot and chapter of her intuitive healing journey as a New Earth intuitive healer. And it's been so beautiful to be with Sarah in that time in her journey. As you will hear, she's going to share a lot of pearls of wisdom, as Sarah is a huge wisdom keeper and has been such a wonderful ally to so many inside of the WIP community. And she doesn't hold back. What I love about Sarah is that she has a beautiful way with words. She is very transparent, down to earth, and just like honest and real. And you will receive so much in hearing a little bit about her journey. We touch on tower moments, what those are, that Sarah is now like the queen of tower moments. And so in that way, she's able to really guide others in similar chapters of their lives and processes. And the fear of leaving one's job and navigating that journey of stepping out of the known in so many different ways, and really having to cultivate one's own path and relationship with your own channel, with the tools and all the things that you have learned from others and how to integrate that. And that was a big part of Sarah's process that she so generously shares with us. And so there's a lot here for you to sink your teeth into, so to speak. We touch on fear of failure, of being seen, building confidence, what that actually means and looks like, the power of spaciousness. And there's just a lot that we touch on that I know is so relevant for so many that are going through a similar point in their lives and in their relationship to themselves as an intuitive healer, even if you feel like, on an external level or maybe with your job, that it's not what you, quote, do. You're also hearing from somebody who has been a student of the intuitive healing arts for well over a decade and has a lot of experience, and this spiralic process of coming back to that space of stepping into the intuitive healing arts and work in a bigger way. I'd love to hear from you. If anything from our conversation resonates, hits a nerve, we'd love for you to reach out. For both of us, both Sarah and myself, we're on Instagram. You can also shoot us an email. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And speaking of building confidence with one's own channel and gifts, I have a free live masterclass coming up on October 24th. It's called 3 Keys to Unlock Your Intuitive Channeling Gifts with Clarity and Confidence. This is a transmission to activate your channeling codes, elevate your intuitive healing potential, and master the art of intuitive readings. I'm going to be demystifying channeling here, making it practical, but also the importance of connecting to your unique intuitive channel and channeling abilities, how natural it is, how we all have the ability to do so, and how accessing one's intuitive channeling gifts is really going to support you in navigating your own life and path, but also it supports the collective and you being a reflection for others so that they can expand into doing the same. Because we all know we need it. We need everyone awake and online and aboard this ship that is really moving toward a more beautiful world that we have to build together. I believe part of that is reconnecting to our intuitive channel and our gifts. And that's what I'll be talking about in this masterclass. You can go to wildlyrooted.com/channeling. Links are in the show notes. And if you can't make it live or you're listening to this after October 24th, sign up anyway, register because you'll get access to the replay. I don't want you to miss out. All right, with that, I am so thrilled to introduce you to Sarah Orzalli. I feel so blessed to have on a special guest, a graduate and alum from the Wild Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, but just one of the most beautiful souls that that I feel honored to have gotten to know, and that is Sarah Orzalli. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. That was such a it's a dream to be introduced by you in your podcast. So thank you for having me.
Hun, well, it is, yeah, thank you for having me and us and and saying yes to coming on to the podcast to share a bit of your story. I would love to start off with the beginning. So, Sarah has been inside of the group, which, by the way, people are still saying we miss Sarah inside the container in our community. Sarah has been one of the participants inside of WHIP that I feel has really been one of the most generous, not only in terms of supporting others, because you would actively respond to people's posts, comment, you would offer support and exchanges and readings yourself as a really talented reader in your own right, but also generosity in your transparency and your storytelling and your writing, which is really healing for others to witness and to receive themselves. I'm curious how you came to find WHIP and me and this collective. Where did you find us? Where did you come from, Sarah? And what was going on in your life at that time that prompted you to explore joining us?
Yeah, it's funny because when I think about how I found Feed Your Wild, I don't remember. It was, probably very organically, like it popped up as a suggestion, or maybe I heard you on someone else's podcast. But I just know that as soon as I found you, I started binging all your podcasts. I mean, it felt really good. I was just in a time of needing that level of nourishment. And I'm a big podcaster. I'll listen to them to go to sleep. I listen to them on my walk, So just finding you felt like really nourishing. And then it wasn't too long afterwards that you first introduced WHIP. And it was an immediate, like, oh, I found the person. Like I need, like that's why I needed to find you, because it just spoke to me so clearly. And you kind of had a longer rollout, I think. You like introduced it, and then
yeah, you were the original. You were like the original cohort when we first opened up, and I made you guys wait a little bit.
It was a good minute where we had to do an application and everything, and then and that in itself felt really amazing, just to like kind of dump out my story and like where I was at and why I would be a good candidate for this work. And so, yeah, it was just such a big, exciting buildup for me. And I was a little bit nervous, like, am I going to even be able to afford this? Like, this sounds so amazing. And I could, and it was. So that's how I came to WHIP, was just like you said one thing about it. And I was like, yep, give me what do I need to do? Sign me up. And at the time I was working in behavioral health, I had a full-time job, and I was in the space of longing to be doing the work that I knew was my work. And that's been such a journey for me, is really having tuned in and knowing what my work is, and then going through cycles and phases of showing up for it, and then falling apart and not and having to reground into actually generating income. So yeah. I was in that part of my cycle where I was like starting to feel stifled and wanting to stretch and wanting to show up in the way that my heart was calling to, and not knowing what that transition would look like yet.
I know that you were no stranger to the Akashic Records, and you, in fact, were working with the records, but in a very different way. I'm curious if you could share about like your relationship with the Akashic Records, anything that you feel called to share about maybe, that journey. And also, if it has changed, how has your relationship with the Akashic Records and your work with them shifted, if at all?
Yeah, very much actually. I had trained in a modality called soul realignment, and that modality was amazing and transformative, and it utilized the Akashic records, but I didn't really have a relationship with the records so much as it was just like a means to an end in the work that I was doing. And the reading that I would do was very structured and formatted so that I had a protocol to follow very strictly. And I was receiving answers, and that was, me building my intuitive capacity and everything, but there was such a strict protocol to it. And what I was really desiring was the ability to utilize the Akashic records and expand my intuitive comfort level in being more free format, and just experiencing and being with the guides in a way that wasn't it wasn't kind of pre-formatted and controlled of what I was looking for.
Right. And so I remember this too, kind of this theme that began to roll out for you that was like going from structure, but not even, it's like someone else's structure, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Into moving and claiming your own. I don't want to use the term structure because it feels so much more fluid. It's like your own relationship and patterns and ways of working with not just the Akashic records, but the other tools and just your relationship with intuitive healing work. What did that look like for you? Or if I know there's a lot of different examples or elements to that, but just sort of like this overarching theme. Could you touch on that a little bit for us, like what that was like for you?
Yeah, I remember that too. There was like specific like form entries and questions I would have for you of just trying to navigate like this balance of the structure is so supportive in some ways and also so restrictive in other ways. And it's really like, okay, that, like it's just not my work. And that's why I'm really pushing against it. And I think it's a constant dance for me, to be honest. I think that's just part of my makeup, is to always be kind of fluctuating between creating a container and a structure, and but then also allowing myself to free flow, and break the mold, and not have, and like not have a plan, and being comfortable with not having a plan, and just really be a channel, not I think what was happening for me as I was practicing and learning the work as you were supporting us too was trusting my own channel, and not not having any promises of what's going to come through.
Right.
It's just a matter of opening a space, and really trusting that space is the healing element.
And the thing is with this process, it's so scary and could be disorienting. Like I remember you and I, like when we would come onto whether it's the Vox or office hours, or like the Akashic group calls, or your sharings, like so many tower moments, like
oh my God,
our card being pulled, like what you were establishing relationship with the tower card. Like what did that feel like for you? What was that like?
Um, this is a whole saga. So the tower it basically was my anchor card for the entire summer. And and that felt like the longest season of my life. So,
Totally.
um, I feel like I'm just emerging into like on the other side of having deconstructed everything I ever knew and believed. So yeah, I mean that's specifically what was happening. It was just like this massive deconstruction, and I mean, let me insert that part of what happened for me in your program was that I found the bridge that I needed, and I found the confidence and trusted the process enough to leave my job. Right. So then and with that came all sorts of just a whole assortment, an array of feelings and experiences that I'm still fully in and navigating. And a huge portion of that was this tower energy of, okay, like you committed, you put your stake in the ground, and now it's time to shake loose everything that doesn't serve you and that is misconstrued, or that you're pushing into that's not going to work, or that the beliefs that you're holding,
Yep.
that are going to block the next step. It's all of that. It's just a whole deconstructive period. And I've done this before without even the understanding of what tower energy means, but it's just, this happens for me every time that I choose and commit to following this path of being an intuitive healing practitioner, like full on.
You know what's so lovely too? I was gonna save this for a little bit later, but I'm gonna dive right in here because I think the juxtaposition is really telling and really beautiful. For this specific interview in this episode, I pulled a tarot card, which I sometimes do, and I felt called to with these episodes. And I was thinking, like, as I was doing, I was like, if we get another fucking tower card, I am just going to like throw my deck. Not really, but
I'm so nervous. What did we get?
Metaphorically, right? And for those who are not familiar with tarot, who are not familiar with tower card, just as sort of like a Cliff Notes version of this, and I do recommend you look into various expressions and definitions or whatever insights online. But tower card in general is about like a breaking down of the foundation. It's often depicted as a tower where this lightning bolt is striking and the tower like cracks in half. So this is like shit is falling to the ground. People are flying out of the tower, it has that kind of energy. Now, it may not always be experienced externally. Like sometimes tower can be an event or, like a big breakup or a loss of a job or something like that. That really clears up things that are not aligned so that you can rebuild. But what I have found is very often it's an internal process, which doesn't mean it's any easier, right? Like, it's an internal process, and it's something that we have to move through, and it's happening for us, that like trope of like happening to us, happening for us, so that we can establish a foundation that is actually good and solid and aligned with how we want to move forward. So that's a little bit on tower card. Now, moving on to the card that was pulled for you and this episode, we got the star card.
Oh,
so sweet. So sweet.
Oh, that's touching. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just share for those who are not familiar, star card. Now, both of these are major arcana. So when we pull these cards, these archetypes, they're part of like the big cosmic soul level messages and the fool's journey through the major arcana. And the star card, card number 17, is Oh man, it's ruled by Aquarius. It's connected to hope and faith and purpose and renewal and spirituality. It's connected to clearly the stars, but also the earth and the water. And we have that beautiful energy of the water bearer with Aquarius. This card. I love Lindsay Mack's perspective on this card because she really grounds it in this sense of like it's one of the most healing cards of the deck, because it's about healing not just for ourselves but for the collective and the whole planet in that very Aquarian way. And it's such a gorgeous energy. So I was so excited that this came through. How does this land for you? Like, what are the connections here? What does this mean for you right now?
I mean, it's so confirming. I'm just like, first of all, thank God. Like, I'm so grateful for Tower, I genuinely feel so grateful for all that I've walked through in the past few months.
Mhm.
And it's just this like sense of total relief, just so relieving. And the star was it was a lesson card that you brought through. That's one of, I'm gonna like forget every little detail of,
No,
your
you're
curriculum, but
not
it
required
was
to
a big
remember.
part. It's a big part of your curriculum, like through one of the phases. And I remember like listening to your talk on it multiple times because it just felt, it was kind of one of those things I was reaching for,
Yeah.
but didn't
Yeah.
feel fully embodied with.
It was
So,
the star card. So each module has an archetype that is the guide that was channeled through. This was like when I was channeling the program, the guides were like, "You're going to pull cards right now." And it was like boom, 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 one after the other. Module 1, module 2. Like it was like there was no editing, right? And so the star card was the guide for the bloom module, which is all about
oh,
coming out of the closet, stepping into your path, like what that looks like to blossom, maybe even those very first blooming leaves or petals, and being seen, expression, creating your container. So I also love that connection here for you.
yeah, it just couldn't be more perfect. Yeah. It's
I,
like
I
it's an
was like,
identity card.
totally.
I'm gonna take that for the whole season.
Let's do it. So I'm curious so clearly you were talking about Tower, right? And there were these moments. Was there a tangible example of a challenge or a struggle that maybe in the beginning, or maybe it was like during the journey in your process inside of WIP, that you journeyed with, that you felt like, maybe you haven't fully come out of it, but there's like insights and medicines that you feel called to share about your experience?
Yeah, it's almost like it kind of defines my work and the world is like learning to navigate stepping into this place of the star card, right? But through the massive earthquake opening of everything in your life, so like
Mm-hmm.
that's not specific, but I just want to name, like, I feel like this is such an integral part of my story, and it's going to keep coming up for me. I know that, and it's going to be a big part of what I help other people walk through,
Exactly.
because I don't know another way to like really step into your calling, which is to peel back all the layers. And for me, especially initially in WIP, it looked like grappling. I don't even know why it was so hard, but it just felt like this hard grapple with, okay, what work is this? My work is this that I trained extensively and practiced and paid for and all these things. Like my work, it felt really hard to let go of that, but it also felt uncomfortable not to let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really felt like on the other side of it, I'm like, well, I'm on the other side of that specific piece of it. So it feels really evident and clear that I can take, there's gifts I can take from that time and experience and training, and I'm moving beyond it, you know.
Yes.
Um, but in the moment, it felt really monumental. And I even like, I was like, this is like this, the contrast of it was puzzling. And then I fully went into it and did a bunch of those soul realignment readings and was like, oh yeah, this really drains me. Like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this feels hard. It feels harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So then being like, okay, I'm not doing those anymore, and having the response of like, oh, but we love those. So then I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of thrown back into like, oh, but people love it, like,
Right.
it's just like this swirl of meaning that I was making like at each turn until I finally was like, okay, that's just isn't my work, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that is part of, so whip itself, like the archetype of a whip, the entire container is the chariot. And like the chariot, this is a vehicle itself to assist people from, one stage in their life to another, but it's also to help people to move out of old chariots. And that is like what is no longer fitting you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't mean that they're like, that it's not something of value, but it just is not, it's not for your next level or phase or chapter of your life, which can feel disorienting, right? Because you're like, there is nothing wrong with that. Is there something wrong with me? Because I'm feeling like this is hard or draining when like others are really loving this experience. So you've mentioned that you've moved through that, you're on the other side. So what does it look like for you now? Working with the records, working with intuitive healing, like working with your own ways of sharing medicine.
Yeah. Well, specifically with working with the records, there's just such a trust in the process. Like I was saying before, it's just like when you go in with intention, like it doesn't even matter what comes through. It's like the truth of it will transform. And that's why we're stepping into the space together. So I think ultimately it's about leading people into a space of hearing and feeling ultimate truth for themselves, whether that's how big and powerful and grand they are, or whether it's, you know, the the dark places that feel, like that feel so bad. And but we can look at them from in that place of unconditional love and unconditional regard.
I feel,
So
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to just say that, based off of what I know about you and what you have shared, your personal journey, it's almost like as you have embodied so many tower moments in your life and come to really know with a capital K, like the depths of that process, but also like the medicine and how to navigate. Like, how do you navigate the tornado, the storm? And
Yeah.
and I feel like it really requires, I mean, this is why shamans, like true shamans, medicine people often experience really challenging things in their lives as part of initiation, and multiple times, right? Like literally in many indigenous cultures, they're like, oh, they're a shaman if they got struck by lightning and then this and that happened, right? Talk about tower card, like literally being struck by lightning.
Right.
And so I feel like you have that embodied signature. Like literally, you don't even have to say anything. You're like holding that space because you have been through it, you've alchemized through that process. So, like, who better to help somebody else, right? With that in their journey. I'm curious if anything is coming up for you as advice for people who are like, I am so in that moment right now. Like, I feel
Mm.
so turned upside down. I don't know what the F I'm supposed to do or like where to go. Yeah. And they're in it. Do you have any words for them right now?
Yeah. What's coming and there's so many things, like, there's so many skills and all that, but and support systems. But when you're in that, what the most important thing that has been for me is spaciousness. Like, what can you do in your life to take anything unessential off your plate and just be in the experience? Just doesn't matter if it's going to be 2 years or if it's, like a couple weeks or what. It's just give yourself the spaciousness. Going through that is going to be more important than anything else other than just sustaining yourself and your family, with like basic needs met. That's what I've experienced. And I think that in itself is tower and hard to like pull back what's important and what's not. But I have gone through like really felt like my life burned to the ground, and that's not exactly what I'm in right now, but I have been there. And the other side of that was just simply more of me than was available before, that I could not have accessed without having gone through it.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. And what I'm feeling for, like, I'm just kind of feeling this coursing through the energetic container here, of this podcast, and the fear that comes up in that process. There's like the knowing, like I'm just feeling all the nodding, like, yes, we hear this, Sarah. Like, how did you navigate the fear?
And sometimes not very well, to be honest. Like, yeah. I think that's another point, is like, it's not meant to look pretty. There's no way to do it like really well and gracefully. That's the whole point of this period.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you're crippled with fear. And that will pass. So hopefully you fed yourself that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like if you're in a space, if you don't have a lot of spaciousness, like, I just want to say, where can you find grace if you're having to get up every day and get your kids to school and get to work and work really hard and then come home and feed everybody? That's a lot to do, even when you're in a really good space. Right? So, even then, even when you can't like bask in spaciousness the way I have been able to at times, you're still going through it. You're still going to get to the other side. So what kind of breaks can you give yourself? What kind of nourishment is available for, like, even if it's like 1 cup of tea in the morning that you are able to squeeze in? Those things become so important. Those little tiny pieces of self-nourishment, just to recognize intent that you're suffering. This is hard.
I think that's, all of those points are so critical, because we can have the mental chatter and beliefs saying like, you're fucking up, you're doing this wrong, like, this could be done in a much more graceful way. But the truth of it is, like, sometimes it just needs to be messy. And if it doesn't need to, but it is, like, that's okay too, like you're saying. And it's not going to last forever. And we can piece ourselves together. And so just having that permission to be messy, I think is like, that just gives me spaciousness hearing you say that too. Right? Sometimes we just need to be reminded, or give ourselves permission for that. I'm curious if there is anything inside of WIP in terms of like elements or experience or lesson or like a component of WIP that was especially supportive or helpful in some of those tower moments for you, and obviously in the time that you were inside of WIP in that process.
Yeah, I think honestly, what was the most valuable for me was having like little bits of access to you. I mean, it was the community in itself. It was not only me having questions and getting them answers, but hearing other people through their process, and being witness and being in support of other people, that just is helpful to me. It
Yeah.
takes me out of whatever I'm struggling with. But also, like, sometimes could have just been like a 9-minute Voxer exchange with you or something. And it took me from feeling blown apart and just being like, I don't know what's wrong with me, what's happening. This is so heavy, to having that access to the space that the records hold, where you can, like, it just takes the weight off. You can just relax into what is true. The truth really is so transformative, and it can just be one small channeling. And for that moment, and for that thing you were struggling and in your head about, it shifts it.
Yeah. I'm feeling that even now, like what you said, it takes the weight off 1,000%. I've experienced that in even just my own readings, right? When we can create that space to commune and to remember that we have these connections, we have support in the unseen realms that we may not always feel or be cognizant of, but we can open up to. And sometimes if we are in a super towery place, it might be extra challenging to do that for ourselves. So that's where, to your point, hearing others or reaching out to others. And I know that you've provided support and readings for others in the container, that so many of them were like, thank you so much, Sarah. I really needed that, And so, yeah, being in that container, it takes a village, like even if it's just one other person that you can connect in with. But I love that. Hey there, I'm interrupting this lovely conversation to bring you a special invitation. If you are a clinician, a practitioner, a healing artist of any level, maybe you're just starting out, or perhaps you're a seasoned practitioner. If you feel that your soul is aching for a change, that something is calling you, you want to go deeper with your medicine, you want to know and expand your intuitive gifts, you know that your calling is to be an intuitive holistic healer, but you're not sure what that means or looks like. Well, I have a special private training where you will learn my 3-part intuitive healing matrix. This is the foundational piece for all holistic healing practices, and it's what has guided my work and so many others. This private training is called How to Create a Transformative Intuitive Healing Practice You Love. And you can get access to this training for free when you apply and are accepted to the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, aka WIP. This is our high-touch 9-month intuitive healing mentorship and practitioner mastermind. On this journey inside of WIP, you'll be initiated into the Akashic Records, becoming a reader and a practitioner for intuitive connection, experiencing deep self-healing and unparalleled support for your clients and patients. You'll discover your intuitive gifts and break through blocks, limiting beliefs, fears, and programmings that are holding you back. You'll also channel an integrated body of work that synthesizes your innate gifts, experience, and wisdom. The Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway is an initiation. It's your chariot that will carry you into your next level of healing, both personally and in your work. So I invite you to learn more and apply. You can go to wildlyrooted.com/apply. There are no risks or obligations to join after you apply. And if you're accepted, you'll get that private training on how to create a transformative intuitive healing practice you love. Head over to wildlyrooted.com/apply. I also I'm curious because I had a reading with Sarah too, and I loved it so much and received so much from that. For those who are curious about the work that you do and working with you, is there anything that you feel like is specific to what you feel called to assist or help, what stage people are in or what they're working through? Is there anything there that you feel called to share?
Yeah, you know what, the way I've come up as a practitioner, it's always like I go through something or I learn something and then I'm immediately like turning around to be like so excited to share that thing. It's that fifth line. It's just like want to
Totally.
universalize everything and share it globally.
Are you
So
5'1", Sarah?
5'2",
5'2".
5'2".
Okay, okay.
So
Yep.
first I have to have my intense power moments by myself.
Totally. Totally.
And then I'm ready.
Yeah.
It's this state of transition that I feel I can be most of service to people right now. Is it's whether you're in a place of I feel like something else needs to come through for me and I don't even know what it is, or even like I can't stand where I am, get me the F out of here. I don't know how to take the next step, like what do I do? That's where I feel like I have a lot of magic for people. I have seen a lot of shifts happen with, either just some simple feedback in a conversation or a full on reading, or just, discovering some human design elements together. Like it's just, there's so much magic that can happen so simply in getting yourself from, I, I don't even know who I am or what I want, like feeling like you have a path to follow and you're really excited about it.
I'm so excited for people to connect with you, Sarah. And you mentioned that you're a 5'2" in human design. I just also have to bring in that you're working with human design as well as part of your offerings, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing since I left your course, is like really intensively studying and getting ready to offer that on a bigger scale. I just think it's kind of what came in when I released the other work. Was like,
Mm-hmm.
it gives structure in a way that we can really point and name to like fundamental aspects of who you are, while also there's so much freedom in how you express that. And then that kind of just leads to the next level of work of like extensively working in the records, or learning tools. Like I just have a whole array of skills and tools that I've gathered over the last 15 years of, you know, trying to become a practitioner and really working on with myself to do that, to get through these tower moments,
Yeah.
like to survive falling apart repeatedly and over again, and just having that be the actual process that we're supposed to be doing.
I love that because it's also synthesis because I remember when one of the times you were talking about this process, of like leaving behind the structure, like really coming into an organic way of working with your medicine, like what does that look like? But that there was still like I kind of still need some sort of element of structure, like
Mm-hmm.
what is that? And I love that human design can be part of that for you because I mean, I use it all the time. I love it. I think it's really supportive in our self understanding. Like, it's not dogmatic, right? It's not like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to believe anything in particular to like, hey, if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, you can leave it. So yeah, I think it's so helpful to like be some sort of structure container and then like weaving in all of your magic all around it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had mentioned coming into this place of confidence. I don't recall your exact words, but you just mentioned confidence a few times in our
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And I'm wondering, what do you feel? Well, first of all, if you can expound upon that, like, what does that mean for you? Like what does it relate to? What does that look like for you? And then what do you attribute it to? Like, how did this confidence build or appear when before there was like fear, whether it was fear of being seen or fear of failure or, yeah. So what comes up for you on that?
A lot. Let's see. I think I first mentioned it in terms of having the confidence to leave my job,
Mm-hmm.
which was so huge, so
Huge.
monumental. So, I mean, gosh, what does confidence mean? It's something that I think it's what allows you to do hard things, right? Whatever that hard is for you, whether it's something huge like leaving a job or even getting on this call with you, is something that I for sure had to grow into, that trust in myself, that whatever happens is okay. Even if I totally flop, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, in terms of leaving the job, which took a huge amount of faith and confidence, specifically happened through the course of WIP pretty early on, actually. Like it was a
I remember
year.
it.
And yeah, I left in March back of this year. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been over 6 months now. There was so many elements to it. It was first getting like re-inspired in the work and like having you really hold the space of this is possible and I stand for it, and witnessing you in your work and all the pieces of the puzzle that you were bringing together, because you really just have this like kind of woven patchwork of all the different pieces and elements that it takes to step out as a new earth intuitive healing practitioner. And it just like, I don't even know if there's all these pieces came together to where I was like, this has to happen. And then it was like, and it has to happen sooner than I thought it would happen, because I had
Yeah.
something in my mind going. It was like, well, I'll just start a business on the side, and then as soon as I'm making enough money, then I'll quit my job. And it was just like, that's not possible. The work that I was doing
Mm-hmm.
took everything I had, so it just was like,
Mm.
that's a total, like, just coming to the realization that just was not going to happen. I needed to figure something else out, and going through the process of feeling like really burdened by that, and then getting the support, and just kind of energetic adjustments that I needed through the curriculum, and through specifically Natalie Ross, who you had as a guest. She did a presentation that felt pivotal for me. Like I think like the next day or something, I was like, okay, I'm going to put my notice in.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and like I didn't. The plan kept changing, right? Like I knew I needed a bridge between what I was doing and what I wanted to be doing, and I think that concept even came through in my own work in the records, and it still wasn't clear. The bridge kept shifting and changing and taking a new form, but the confidence, the confidence remains. And I did it. I put in like a long, like 2.5 month notice or something, and I'm stuck with it. So, and now it's like the confidence even, and I feel like there's some aspects where I really have to like talk myself through what it was supposed to look like versus what it is, and just allowing, and like that spaciousness I talked about as I went through Tower, like the confidence just to not be making a lot of money, the confidence to be like allowing what is, and that what I'm creating, will sustain me, you know, and just working with what I have now, living very simply. The confidence to take a change in the way I was living to what I'm doing now, because I really, really trust that it's going to work. It's going to be fulfilling and sustainable for me and my family.
That's so beautiful, Sarah. I'm so glad that you brought in, that element of it's like reconfiguration on so many different
Mm-hmm.
levels, right? Of even life and lifestyle, perhaps bringing simplicity to various
Mm-hmm.
areas to create that spaciousness you were talking about for this path that is most aligned for you, to support this path. And that, you know, here for people, sometimes doing the side gig thing is like perfect for someone, right? Like doing, what is it called, where you know, like at night or in the evening, like you're doing your intuitive healing work, but you have a day job, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you need to do. But like, to speak to your situation, very often people don't have the space, they don't have the energy, they don't have the time, and so it's really inspiring just to hear how that has that's unfolded for you. And I also, well, two things. First, you sparked a revolution of leaving jobs, because you were the first, I think, in the group. And then since then, I think like at least 3 others have left their jobs.
Amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's like, a selling point.
Totally, right? Join us, leave your job. But I think, you know, being that example, sharing that demystifies it. Yes, there still might be the fear, but it's like, let's do this. Let's say yes. If she can do it, I can do it. And holding each other in that process is so important. And shout out to Natalie Ross. Yeah.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'll make sure to link up Natalie's info in the show notes too. She came in to teach a guest mentor masterclass on, the title was Attracting Clients with Confidence. But I will say there's a lot deeper stuff in that she wove in that I don't think people were expecting.
Totally. Yeah. It was the somatic experiencing that, like, I was I jumped in as like a practice client or something. And so she led me through a process, and it was far reaching in its effect.
Yeah. Oh man. So much with the somatic piece. And, you know, this weaves in with what we were talking about, like the nervous system, the spaciousness, like tuning in. It's all so connected. Well, Sarah, I feel like I can talk to you forever, and I keep having to check the time because I'm like, I want to honor your time. and I feel like we just started, and I was like, how are we already almost at the hour mark?
Right. I know. I'm glad you're watching the time, because I don't even have a clock, and could have been 10 minutes. I don't know.
I know. It really does feel like that. It's like the non-linear time that we tap into with the records. So I have to ask, before we share how people can find you, as a listener, you probably know, I always ask this question of everyone who comes on, and I would love to hear from you, Sarah. What is currently feeding your wild, whether that's body, mind, or soul right now?
Yeah, you know, there's so many things. But what really, I was prepared for this, and I think the most wild that I'm is having more adventures. I'm trying to be as adventurous as possible right now in terms of getting outside. I've been doing more camping, more road trips. I did an overnight backpack with a friend into the wilderness, you know, river time. So just really leaning into that as a balancing point to all the heady, even like intuitive stuff that I'm always engaged in, and just like getting out there and being free, and, you know, being in the elements, and, you know, taking risks and chances. And I think that's just feeds a whole different part of me than was being fed for quite some time.
Totally. And even just hearing you talk about it feels spacious. It's just like,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's part of like celebrating that spaciousness that I have right now too. Celebrating when you're working full time and you have a family, like the weekends are often for just decompressing in your bed, you know?
Totally. Oh man. Well, I highly, highly recommend folks to check out Sarah's work. You're a brilliant intuitive healer. How can people connect with you, find you, all the ways? Let us know what you got.
Okay, I have a website. It's truespiritsuccesscoaching.com. So I put that together and have just kind of the basic beginnings of how to get started with me. And I do have an Instagram, although I have not, I'm on the fence with whether I'm really going to do it or not. I really don't like social media
I'm still on
yet.
the fence.
Yeah. So, and that's True
Yeah.
Spirit Success, at True Spirit Success. So, but I think hitting up my website right now will kind of give you the most insight into who I am and how we might be able to work together. And you can also email me at Sarah with an H, so SARAH at truespiritsuccess.com. And I'm just really happy to connect with people right now, offering free connection calls before you get started with my work. It's just something I'm loving to do, is just hear people and see where they're at and give them some guidance.
Well, I'm excited for those who feel called to step into your guidance, Sarah, and your light. It really, you have been such a beautiful guide for so many inside of WIP. So I just want to name that and really honor that and share our deep appreciation. So thank you for your presence and who you are and all that you do.
Back at you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for everything that you held space for a year for me and all of us. So it was such a blessing.